Hello. I think for some of us, it is Good Friday. For others of us, it is good because it's Friday. Either way, happy Friday. Thanks to everyone who wished me a happy birthday. And for those of you who didn't wish me a happy birthday yesterday, you're dead to me. Well, no, you're not. Or are you? I don't have any particular programming notes to share. I think the only thing that's going on is my stream schedule might be a bit wonky next week. I'm trying to get over to PAX East, trying to make it work out. I've got my press pass, so I can technically get, I have entry if I can get there. We'll see if I can get there. Ian Bartosh Wise, good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Let's see if I can fix that. So we're just going to go straight to it. I don't have anything else to say, really. Yet. Help Earth now. Happy belated birthday. Thanks. Thank you. And we should help Earth now. Help Earth now. I keep trying to remember to zoom in a bit on this because I know I got comments that it's hard to see. So there we go. I'll give it I haven't looked at it in a few days. I try to stay away from the Reddit for a couple days before I'm going to run this, so I'm not going over ground that I've already run through, even if it's just in my head. Even better tips for running a haw crawl. Do I want to, or would that be a haw crawl? I'm not sure. Let's check it out. DM Masterclass. Is that our very own DM Masterclass? Oh my gosh. Well, look at that. All right. Well, thanks. If that is indeed you, DM Masterclass, and not somebody's running around your name, well, of course, I'll give that an upvote. And I'll even write a comment. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate the signal boost. Well, look at that. Bam. DM Masterclass, that's right. It's haw. It's a haw crawl. I'll take it. Well, that was an unexpected birthday present. All right. I don't need. I could do a reaction video of me watching my own video. That would be a little bit too meta and just altogether weird. It's hard enough just to go back through if I make a video and edit it myself because you're kind of watching yourself. It's weird. Hey, Elfbait. A simple evocative generator for creating shrines and their blessings. Hey, look at that. All right. From nondairygiant.org. We'll go there. And let me go to the comments so I can upvote and give them an upvote. Let's check it out. I will paste this into the chat. And let's see. This is called Forgotten Shrines of the Small Gods. That should be popping up, and then I will put it up on the footer. There we go. You got folks want to follow along at home. Posted yesterday. Shinto-inspired shrines to small and forgotten gods. Little puzzle. Players figure out how to make an offering for divine favor, but risk a curse. Ian says, morning. Early today? Yes, I am early today. Not to go too off track, but I totally forgot that it was Good Friday today. And I also didn't know that my day job gave us the day off today. So with family visiting and the day off, and folks are running errands around now, so this was a good time for me. But later on, it would have been, during the workday, that 1 to 2 slot my time. It's very easy. I just do it during my kind of lunch break. Hence the lunch hour stream of streams. But when you have you have basically the whole day off, doing it from 1 to 2 just kind of breaks the day up in sort of an awkward spot. So I thought, let me push it earlier while folks are out doing stuff. Yada, yada, yada. So yeah, today it's an early day, which might be good for some folks. Maybe bad for other folks. Not sure. Elfbase says they love this sort of stuff. Well, let's see here. So these are Shinto-inspired shrines to small and forgotten gods. So the form it takes, we got a table of 6 options: altar, shrine, figure, fetish, icon, or word. Word is interesting. Is that the form of the... I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's the word. Yeah, word, icon. Some of those are kind of interesting. Anyhow, because we get altar and shrine, which makes sense. Though you could say, well, there could be an altar inside a shrine. A figure could be inside a shrine. so get a fetish, so get an icon. But the word part, or is it what we have to do? Not sure. I guess we'll just keep going. So then we have the blessing. It's basically set up like a Mad Lib. Blessing of insert effect until insert condition in return for an offering of insert offering. Oh, very early Saturday for you, Help Earth now. Wow. So you must be on the other side of the earth. Well, welcome and thanks for staying up. Cheers for staying up late. And this is Spindrift Blackberry for the working man. All right. Ugh, what did I forgotten how to drink? A blessing of grace until you next draw blood in return for an offering of wealth. That's an example blessing. Making an incorrect offer has no effect. Making an offensive offer results in the character being cursed with effects opposite to the blessing. Oh, that's interesting. So the effects, we get some visual cues. Grace could be, and this is again a table, D6 table you could roll on. You get grace, a cat, wind, wings, music. Strength, mountain, ox, sun, giant, charisma, smile, beauty, love, oration. Fortitude, alcohol, ox, snake, plump. Speed, cat, falcon, lightning, light. Wisdom, book, sage, student, owl. And you could also, they could have made this a kind of a sub D4 table, each one of those. It looks like they gave 4 options. So you could roll a D4 and pick one. Or if you could use multiples of those, you could have a cat in the wind or a winged cat. Cat with an instrument, perhaps, or an instrument with wings, a mountain ox, an ox with a sun disk, a giant on a mountain, perhaps, a giant sun. Was there a typo there with heal and heal that I missed, Elfbait? Usually I'm unfortunate in picking those up. Let's see, we got some other stuff here. Oh, here we go. Let me go back and read one that Elfbait said they made. One I made for my setting is the Troll Mothers, horrible-looking mother goddess statues buried in small caves and scattered around the core area. That's cool. Did they have any? Did these Troll Mothers have any boons or banes that they conferred if you had dug them up or found them? Oh, I see. He's fixing his typo. So the Troll Mothers can heal, and heal as in Heal, as in render healing. And not be a heel in pro wrestling terms or stomp you with the back of their foot. The Troll Mothers can heal or even resurrect with the right offerings, usually something unsavory. Okay, cool. I like those. I like those a lot. The conditions we have, here's another D6 table. You draw blood. It's the new moon. It's the solstice. You sleep. Sunfall. Sundown. Sunset. Or you eat something. And for the offering, the cues, you need to offer blood. You might find beast fangs, dagger, hunger, wealth, coins, jewels, scales, charity, life, demon, dagger, skeleton, tomb, loyalty, war, worship, execution, salute. Cough coming on here. Okay, caught that one in time. Let's see. Evangelism, rituals, scripture, demons, angels. You get demons, shows up twice. Demon and life, I'm not sure if that one equates to me as much, but it doesn't have to be one-on-one. It's something that in your game your players could discover. And then youth, old man, rot, dead tree, dry spring. I think the only thing I would have liked, so this is really cool. Kudos to Non-Dairy Giant for this. The only thing I would have liked is here they have an example of the blessing, but it would have been nice to give a whole example because the form is a little bit weird because you have word, an icon, and I would have liked to have known what they meant by that. And we don't really get any explanation, and their example doesn't enter it. But very cool. So you can grab that from their blog. I'll go check out the see if there's any good comments. Oh, just very cool. I'll just give those some upvotes. Yep, nice job on the, it looks like first post on their first proper blog by Non-Dairy Giant. Very good. Kudos to you, sir, or ma'am, or, insert your gender or genderless appellation of choice. Nay versus OSE versus something else for OSR beginners. I don't know. I don't really have any. I think it's a good question. I'll just upvote it. I don't have any. I don't know. I don't have a good sense of figuring out. I would so if I had to pick something for OSR beginners, I'd probably pick something like BX, and then but I would make it more one system, like BX, kind of BX system, but using Target 20 or something. Because I do think that having a single mechanical system, which we talked about with the Dungeon Master Masterclass, and we talked about other things, I feel like having one system as opposed to multiple different types. So I would use D20, I think, and then convert things like Thief Skills to D20, and then other that go with BX. If I had to pick some system and just run it kind of out of the box for beginners, I'm not sure what I would pick because some of the other systems like Knave and Into the Odd and stuff, I not that they are poor for beginners, but I wonder if they're so much playing off of what other systems do that they're not as beginner friendly if you just don't know anything. But I don't know. It's impossible for me to determine. I would love to hear from folks who've gone kind of new, either themselves completely new to the OSR or bring in folks who are completely new to the OSR and potentially completely new to role playing games. What OSR systems they chose to start that path with, and then how it worked out. I mean, OSC is not a terrible choice, but at that point I might just use BX because I think in terms of education, I think BX just classic is better laid out as a teaching experience than OSC. Hey, Terrence. Okay. We have some variant rules on dwarves, infravision, and keeping darkness dangerous. I'm willing to go in there by Rover Buff, which I feel like we've seen Rover Buff before. So let's see what they got. Dwarves, infravision, and keeping darkness dangerous. Posted by Rover Buff. Hello, all. So, I think I'm not alone in this dilemma. You want the darkness to stay dark and dangerous, and perhaps, like me, do not allow most playable races to have infravision, dark vision, or any such ability, as it cheapens the importance of tracking, using, and maintaining light in your dungeon crawls. Besides, for elves and halflings, I'd argue there isn't really an in-world reason for them to even possess infravision. Elves dwell above ground, while halflings live in holes. Those are only their residence. They still go outside to farm, work, and make merry. But dwarves are another beast. Dwarves live underground, so surely there must be some way in which they see underground and navigate their mines and mountain halls. I was thinking about this problem for a while, not wanting to give dwarven characters such a big advantage, but also wanting to have it make sense in world. How do dwarves see underground? I found my answer in Dwarf Fortress, namely the cave adaptation mechanic. To give a brief rundown of how I'd adapt this mechanic, it basically means that dwarves gain infravision/dark vision only if they stay completely underground for a set amount of time, say a week. After 1 week, a dwarf will have activated their infravision/dark vision, but will also become sickened and disoriented by sunlight and other bright light. To reverse this, a dwarf would then have to stay some time above ground, upon which they will lose both their infravision/dark vision and their sickness from sunlight. This way, in world, your dwarven society could still live mostly underground without burning torches, magical lanterns, or some other means of normal sight, but dwarven characters won't be able to brave dark places without light unless they explore a complex for a significant amount of time and become adapted to the darkness, say in a mega dungeon where the safe spot is also underground. Terrence says that's a good idea. Ian, so we got two Ians in the chat, so I'm going to go Ian Wise. I hope you don't mind. Ian Wise says, can you still buy BX Classic? You can, I mean, taking out the used market, right, the vintage market, the eBay, you can buy it digitally at Drive-Thru RPG, and I recommend it. It's a good read, even if you don't end up wanting to play it as is, you can still get it. Yeah, and as Ian points out to the other Ian, yeah, WotC has done an excellent job the last few years of making tons of the backlog, particularly the TSR stuff, on demand, and a bunch of those you can also print on demand. I don't know if BX is you can print, but you can get the books. And I use my digital copies. I have a few physical copies, and I use my digital copies that I bought a ton. And I want to say they've got it so it's pretty well indexed and the table of contents works, I think. So don't quote me on that. So here we have this thing in Dwarf Fortress. I always meant to play Dwarf Fortress. I think I've bought it at least once or maybe even twice because, email changes and I lost it. Or is it even for free? I don't even remember, but I've had it on my drive, I think, a few times, but never really got into it. I don't know anything about cave adaptation, so I guess to really understand what Rover Buff is saying here, let's just go take a quick look at cave. Oh, it's adaptation, not adaption. Cave adaptation is a mechanic that causes dwarves to spend too much time underground with insufficient exposure to outdoor sunlight to grow sick when finally exposed to it. It's controlled by the okay token. Okay. All right, so that's not really that's cool. So I don't know. So here's the thing, right? So you want to allow dwarves to keep some kind of advantage, or at least in-game reason. I guess so. I guess what we're trying to solve for here is you're wondering if all dwarves live essentially in their mountain holds, and so you think, well, why don't they have infravision? Though, I mean, this is one of those things too. Like just because I mean, there are animals that that live underground that don't all see in the dark. Maybe they have other senses. I mean, you could even what if you did something with dwarves like ants where they have pheromones? So granted, so the first dwarf going somewhere uh, doesn't know anything, can't see in the dark, but they lay down they lay down a scent or something else that then allows other dwarves to see their sense through it. So by the time you get to his whole stronghold, it's been totally marked by dwarves moving around, so other dwarves can feel their way and kind of get through it and get a sense of it without them having to see. That might be another way of doing it. In which case, the dwarven player, it would be really interesting because then you could have your dwarf player scout who not only could be going ahead, but even though that dwarf scout that first time through a dungeon level doesn't know anything, they can find their own trail out like unerringly. So they'll know exactly which way they went, and as they keep exploring, they can keep finding that original trail and then making out. That might be anything. But just taking this at face value, we want dwarves in our general game to still have this, okay, they live underground, so they see in the dark, fine. But then dwarven players are going, well, why don't I see in the dark? And then you go, well, the reason you don't see in the dark is because you're not spending enough time down there, which means that we can still keep for our dungeons that sense of everything, no one being able to see in the dark while still having a fictional reason why dwarven NPCs see in the dark. I guess I'll point out just off the top whether it works for you or not, but in I think the white box originally, everything that wasn't a player character could see perfectly well in the dark. Maybe not hirelings. I don't even know if they cover that, but basically everything that lived in the dungeon could see in the dark, regardless of their species. If you ran into humans as monsters, anything that was basically a monster, whether it's an actual monster or just a NPC non aligned to the party humanoid, could see in the dark. So and I don't think I didn't. Obviously I didn't play as an adult in that time, so it didn't occur to me as a kid, and I don't know if people were like calling BS on that or it was just kind of part of the sort of gaminess of the game. Just as one of those things. Okay, well, we're playing a board game or something or this kind of game, and that's just the rule. Anybody that's not us can see in the dark. Only we need to see in the dark. I think very quickly though, it kind of became a thing of, well, we want to make it the same. If humans are underground, they'll need light sources. If dwarves are underground or whatever, they can see, however you want to do it. But I think they wanted it. I think people started to think like, well, this doesn't really make sense in the fiction and everything. So it kind of moved away from that concept. I mean, as far as this goes, it's good. I guess I'm wondering, one, if you have just that one character who could see in the dark and you want to make that dwarf special thing, is enough to kill things because it's just the one, as opposed to being like three different species, depending on when you want to do it. Do you just want to say that maybe it's that it's not? I mean, you could argue that they don't use their seeing in the dark so much as maybe that other stuff like the angles and all these things that they can sense, that they kind of have a stone sense, if you will, that you could expand a little bit while not having it be literally seeing in the dark. So there's that. I think it works. I mean, I guess the thing is that if you're doing a mega dungeon, like a big mega dungeon where you're gonna be staying underground, then they're gonna get that advantage back anyway. And I wonder if that's when it would be most where you'd want it most. I'm not sure, but I think it works fine. I don't have anything. I guess maybe I'm struggling to come up with things like, yeah, it's either gonna be kind of for you or it's not gonna be for you. Let's see. Some folks got some comments. Folks talking about. I'm not gonna get into BX versus OSE because they're still great. Vitamin D deficiencies must be rife in dwarven populations that help Earth now, most likely. Ian says maybe that's linked or is why they have stunted growth to begin with. Very true. Brian Smith says, I like giving dwarves a mapping sonar type ability from tapping the stone walls to get an idea of nearby chambers and rooms, but invite wandering monsters. Ooh, I'm going to show that one. I like that one a lot, Brian Smith. Terrence says, dwarves strike the walls with a hammer or pick and use it as a rudimentary sonar. It's basically the same kind of idea, which I like. And the nice thing about that is it gives them a thing that they can makes total sense in terms of dwarves and dwarven skills and these things that I guess the other thing is it kind of comes down to your conception of dwarves. I think a lot of stuff still comes from this kind of Tolkien conception of dwarves as being, in Tolkien's Legendarium, right? The dwarves were essentially created by basically the master builder of the demigods, and kind of so they're sort of just from their entire creation all about sort of building and mining and all this stuff. If your world isn't about that, then maybe A, dwarves don't have to live underground, or B, they live underground for other reasons other than it's part of their being, in which case it's cultural, and then they may not have gotten low light. Because just because as a culture you decide to do something like doesn't mean that you're going to suddenly evolve to be better at it. Maybe over millennia that would happen. Yeah, I don't know if all humans lived underground. Maybe eventually we would get it would sort of work out that way evolutionarily, maybe, but maybe not. And with fantasy worlds, there's always, it seems like things just get kind of stuck. Like you reach a certain point, and then everything, all kinds of progress, whether natural or technological, just kind of stops anyway. But I like this idea that they could use one of their tools, which is a dwarven tool. If we're going back with them as kind of the ultimate sort of miners and craftsman types, and they can bang on something and they can get that kind of sonar effect, but it has this consequence. It's not free. Sure, you can get that and you'll get a sense of maybe the surrounding 100 feet, 120 feet, whatever you want to give them. But then maybe every monster in that 120 feet can be maybe converging on you or preparing for you. And they might very well know that a dwarf is coming, because who else is making that racket? Seems like a dwarf. Let's see. Dungeon Master Masterclass says, I'm always in favor of nerfing players. Haha, but I don't think that you need to have the dwarf get sick when exposed to sunlight after being underground a long time. Ian says, I think more and more that dwarves, elves, etc. should be incredibly alien to humans, both in physiology and psychology, except when Fori gave Dwargar beard, spine, rage attacks. That was just weird. I mean, that's one of the things that, Ian, I tend to agree with you just in terms of my kind of personal thing. I like having them as to be just very strange. But I feel like that only works when you don't have them as PCs, because it's hard for the characters. I think it's hard for the players to be on board with that. Even if you get them on board, I just think as people, we're going to tend to make them seem like people, because that's how we're playing it. It's kind of hard to play them as alien all the time. I think as a GM, it's easier because we're only playing them in isolated moments. Someone else shows up for an encounter, say a social encounter, and we can act all weird. We can say nonsensical things. We can have them just be strange, and then they're going to exit. And then the players could be like, oh, what an enigma. But if you're a player playing an elf who's going to be basically in constantly, hard to keep up that strangeness. I think it's hard for them. I just think naturally you're just going to start to veer back towards being kind of normal, or even if you're going to veer towards being strange, it's going to be strange in very human ways, because that's who we are. So I think a lot depends on your game, but I have kind of gravitated off and on towards just kind of human only campaigns. And this way I can keep dwarves and elves, or just come up with other creatures that can be just very weird and strange. And the players get to experience them as that. In those ways, which I think can be really fun if your players don't mind being human only. And I actually haven't had any problems convincing anybody. I feel like that's more that in the modern game, like 5th edition, people kind of tend to get up in arms when they can't play everything in the phone book. But I haven't had that trouble coming up or creating those kind of games for myself. And let's see what else we got here. Brian Smith says, I homebrewed a clan that delves deep and marks veins of ore with special glyphs that respond to this sonar from great distance. A way to get back and mine it. Ooh, I like that too, Brian. And Ian says, I think it helps to prompt the player, and depends on the player. How does an elf from the wood who's lived 600 years feel about these human problems? Yes, indeed, though it's a good question to ask, but it can lead to problems, because the player might go, well, technically they don't. Like these adventures that concern these humans don't concern me. And so then what, right? Maybe you have to really think about that. Okay, you're a 600-year-old elf. A lot of the things that people, the humans, are going to see as problems that they have to solve, you're going to look at and say, this is nothing. This is a little wind that's going to pass. So then what is your reason for getting involved with this stuff? What is your reason for not going back and just hanging out with the trees? Why are you doing it? right? I mean, in something like Lord of the Rings, there were very clear reasons because this thing is here that's going to end the world. So we got to deal with it. And we understand that because we've dealt with it a few times before and we're getting weaker. And it seems to be, if not getting stronger in an absolute sense, comparative to us, it's gaining in strength and we're losing strength. So we kind of got to deal with it. But in a game where you might be playing, say, a sandbox game or something else that doesn't have some super overwhelming threat, when people from the village say, help with this thing, you're like, I don't care. As an elf, what do I care? You're humans in a blink of my eyes. You humans will be old and dust, and I will still be here. So why not just go hang out in the woods? So, just something you got to think about. Dean says, for gold, of course. Yes, gold could be gold could be the thing. Though you might ask yourself as an elf, I'm 400 years old and I'm dirt poor. How did I not do better with my investments? What did I do? Where's my mattress filled with the gold I've amassed for 400 years? Terrence says, human only in 5e is like locking the kids in the candy store and then putting all the candy on the highest shelf. That's the way to put it. I don't know. The thing is, I mean, I get what you're saying, Terrence, but I don't know. I just think people look at games in a very different way, maybe than they used to. Because I guess I always felt like someone's going to run a game for you. Hey, come play in my game, right? Come play in this thing that I'm making basically for you to play in. And when someone puts that out there, then I'm pretty much on board with whatever they want to do. It's like, you want to run a game? I'm all for it. You tell me. I'm all, my question was always, well, what's allowed? Like, what can we play? And if they give 3 options and they give 50 options, it's great. I'll figure it out, or I'll just roll dice. It never to me was like which maybe just because there's so many games with Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and all these things. Maybe there's just so much that people just feel like they can pick and choose to the point of saying, well, you know what, if this doesn't meet my specifications, I'm not going to play. That's, but that's not my, I don't know. That's just never been my attitude. But yeah, it definitely feels like in 5th edition, not everybody, but there's a strong sense of entitlement to play everything. And I don't get it, but I'm not in there. I'm not in the target demo for that. And I don't even think it's not even like Wizards is putting out stuff that, it's not them that's dictating that. I don't know. It's just kind of outgrown of the culture, I guess. Here we have the D40 Fantasy Overland Region Generator posted by M. Raston. We're going to go check it out, but let me give it an upvote. Upvote. Thank you. This is posted to the Lizardman Diaries blog. And this was posted yesterday also. This is D40 Fantasy Overland Region Generator. I don't know the Travail Saga, so I don't know what that means. Sorry, I missed some talk on Tolkien, but I agree in the chat about that. And then Elfbane on the 5e things. Part of the problem there is the heavy assumptions default setting, even though the first part of the DMG is making your own setting. Yeah, the DMG, I think part of the thing, and not to go sideways, start going on 5th edition, not that it's a problem, but with the DMG has really moved from being an essential book to being, oops, I keep doing that, to being a kind of a secondary book. And I've even told people that too. It is secondary, right? You don't need the DMG to run the game. I think I always go back, AD&D, I think you really needed, I haven't really gone back and done some, but I don't think you don't fully have all the tools to play the game if you just have the player's handbook. You kind of needed the player's handbook and the DMG. Maybe you didn't need the monster manual, depending on the module, if it has all the monsters in it, but I think you basically needed the DMG. The DMG had a lot of the things that you needed. I think someone could correct me and say, no, you could just play with the player's handbook. Maybe you could. I don't know. So I always want to, when D&D would come out a new edition and I was interested in it, automatically I would buy the DMG. But 5th edition, I think in particular, and someone can correct me and say if this is true in 4th or 3rd, you don't need the DMG. All the essential rules are in the PHB, or even in the box, even in kind of the SRD text, the sort of the essentials text in the boxes, in those beginner boxes. So a lot of folks just pass over the DMG, which unfortunately means they miss a lot of the explanations for how the systems work, some extra tools, some things that I think are really useful and valuable and informative. You don't need them to play, and the books are expensive, so I would never tell somebody, no, you must get the DMG. You really just need the PHB. I would just say get one of the box sets and start there and then see if you like it, because it's the cheapest and has the most bang for your buck. But if you just wanted, which core books do you absolutely need? The Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual. But you do miss out on a lot of stuff. And there's things hidden in there, like their versions of reaction rolls and all kinds of stuff is all slipped away. John Schwartz says the 1E DMG basically had all the rules. Yeah, it had a lot. I know there's stuff in the PHB, but yeah, it's been forever since I've flipped over to my Player's Handbook to just kind of read it to see what's there. But yeah, that's my memories. That's my memories of it anyway. Ian Boyd says the value in the DMG is there, absolutely, but it doesn't have value over the previous DMGs that we experienced folks have already read and internalized. Yes, that is true too. But I think just in terms of 5th edition, if you're just a newbie, you come to 5th edition, the DMG is very handy, but I think even the way it's geared, just because of everything's laid out, all the stuff you need to start playing is in the PHB, and then it's basically your advanced stuff. And hey, you like this, you like DMing, you want to take it to the next level, go to the DMG. But of course, the problem with that is a lot of folks, even though they may want to take the next level, just never get to the DMG, and so they never get that stuff. All right, back to this. The D40 Fantasy Overland Region Generator posted to the Lizardman Diaries blog. So he's got I guess or they have earlier, I guess they posted something called the Travail Saga, which I'm not going to look at right now, but we'll just look at this region generator, see what it's got. So first we have a basic biome, which is a D40. I don't know, how would you roll a D40? Okay, we can run them. Is there a 40-sided die out there somewhere? Because the way this is set up, it's starting from 1, so it's not 2 D20s. I don't know. Anyway, use an online die roller, or somebody could tell me it's some weird combination of a D10, I don't know, 4 D10s or something. I don't know. With the zeros just being 0. I don't know how you do it. Anyhow, a D4 plus a D10. Oh yeah, okay, that would work, right? So then the 10. So what the 0 would be an alternative D4 minus 1 times 10 plus a D10. I guess D4 plus D10 would be the closest one. What with, if you have a 4 and the 0, it's 40. If you have a 1 and the 0, it's 1. Would that be, or because there's no, how do you get the 1s though, right? Because if it's a D, I don't know. Anyhow, online dice rollers kind of make all this irrelevant, because you can put whatever number you want and just roll it. So is it easy? I wonder, is it easy on something like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds to roll a D40? Is that a thing? 1 and 0 is 10. John Schwartz says, I don't know. Well, someone can figure, whatever. It can be figured out. I'm not going to get too caught up in that. Anyhow, basic biome, in which we have 40 of them. So I'm not going to read all these. We got rolling grassy hills, flat grassy plains, sand dunes, rocky plains, dead flat sand plains, beaches of an ocean, dry but heavy canopied forests, heavy scrub, rocky sand dunes. So you get a whole bunch. You probably could have split that up into multiple tables, but I'm guessing that they like the concept of the D40, so that's what they're doing. Null Terminator says you can roll any size die you want on Roll20. Yeah, I figured as much. And then we get some biome modifiers. You're going to roll twice and combine them. Again, we have 40. So you get, so the first one say pleasant, fertile, abundant, but then overrun and lousy with animal life. What a pleasant, fertile, abundant land, but it is lousy with animal life. All this animal life, it's lousy. I don't know if that's I don't know if there's a secondary definition of lousy that works that way, but I just like that. This place is lousy with the animal life. Oh, that's good. Could be enclosed in secret valleys or cliffs or plateaus, riven by cracks and cliffs and crevices. It could be beneath the ground. It could be spiked and bleeding, oozing pain and blood, littered with skeletons, bones, and crushed destruction. That would be interesting. Corrupted by death. Oh, and look at that. They've got some automated versions. All right, let's check this out. It's an ocean littered with skeletons, bones, and crushed destruction, and it's either flooded or bone dried out. Wow, so was that? I mean, that's pretty. No, nothing. Just roll a T100 and re-roll everything above 40. Yep, you can do that. Or just use their automated version. That's cool. This one worked out really well. So we could go with it's a dead ocean that's littered with skeletons, bones, and crushed destruction. That's cool. I'll do one more. Oh, here we go. A damp and heavy canopy jungle that's glowing bright and shining and still too calm, silent, and quiet. So cool. These are cool. I could see using these. The only thing, like I said, I might, because really what I see here is like, I'm looking at for myself. I can see splitting these up so you kind of have the hexes, right? Hills, plains, desert kind of thing, and then have these other kind of, rolling grassy, whatever. Maybe, obviously, you can't really have, or maybe I would say grassy hills would be one thing. I don't know. I think I just would kind of split these out a bit into multiple tables, but these are cool. By the way, I was playing with that AI that we covered last week, and it's kind of creepy how well some of that stuff does. So let's see what comments we've got here. Zwart27 tried it out and got caverns in a volcano and an aquatic reef that are filled with darkness and shadows and hissing with steam and acid. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. This is a really cool, let's say Cogspace says, this is really cool and flavorful, but you've got quite a few typos and unclear descriptions. Okay. You look, I love pointing out a typo as much as the next person, but this stuff is all inspirational. Just you get it. It's like a word poem that you then, use to make what you will. Don't need to be a stickler. Cogspace. All right, so that is that, but good stuff. Let's see what else we can find here. Raise the Dead. We'll check that out. It's got my curiosity. Oh, it's a question. Man, I thought they were going to show something amazing in here, but it's just a question. Is there an option to be resurrected in your game? If so, how do you do it? I've heard of a sizable donation/payment. I've also heard of running a mini quest to the underworld to retrieve the soul. This would be interesting to me if it was sort of a short one-shot style quest. I've done the underworld thing where I had someone, they died in a game, and I asked if they wanted to keep going with this person because I had this kind of idea. I had already had sort of one of the themes of the game was this kind of underworld, and things were basically it's like the planes were coming closer. Is one of the things where kind of like the great conjunctions coming, and the fabric between the planes was thinning. And part of this was that the underworld was overlapping with the kind of material plane, if you will. And so you had this ability to cross over, and so they could and they were already going back and forth a bit. So it was kind of like, hey, you can go in there and that you could be there to be fetchable if you want to, or you can do something else. And they chose to come back, which is kind of cool. I tend in my games, I tend not to favor a bunch of resurrection. I kind of like, hey, you're kind of dead, you're dead sort of thing. But at high levels, if they've got a super high level cleric, or they've done something super high level for a church that has access to a super high level cleric, then I'm not opposed to them doing something, but I make it kind of rare. I appreciate the rarity. Brian Smith says, want to get resurrected? You have to fight death 1v1. But is it like Bill and Ted where you can challenge him to tiddlywinks or something? How, is fight metaphorical or is it, physical? Let's see what else we have here. I made a thing, a null pact leader. Leader looks like it's a drawing. That's cool. Homebrew magic item. Your opinion. It is treasure. All right, Chad Icon. We'll check it out. This was posted yesterday, I guess, by Chad Icon. Homebrew magic item. Your opinion. The homebrew magic item in question is called the Golden Egg of Weightlessness. Yes, a golden egg. I enjoy creating quirky magic items, so the details for using it might seem a little odd. To me, that's a feature, not a flaw. I like to include little secrets about the object that players have to experiment with to learn about. Anyway, it just looks like a golden goose egg. Detect magic shows it's heavily enchanted. Before noon, if they speak the command words, give me a no-weight breakfast, and tap it on a hard surface, the egg will split in half. If the user holds one half in each hand, they become weightless. This will last for 12 hours, then the halves must be rejoined until a midnight passes before it can be used again. The little trick is the weightlessness field. The weightless field is sort of conductive. If the user holds both halves in one hand, that hand becomes weightless, though that's of little use. In either hand, the field travels through their body, making them weightless. If they put the halves on either end of a wagon, it would not work because wood is not conductive. On opposite ends of a metal plate, however, the plate and anything on it would become weightless. Like most any OSR magic item, it would have charges. Casting Levitate on it would restore 2 charges. Let me know what you think, or ask me questions about it. Thanks in advance for the feedback. So Terrence says you have to beat death in the Great Afterlife Bake Off. That's a good idea. And then Brian mentions that death makes a mean scone. Indeed, I think this item is pretty cool. I don't. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna ready to throw it in my game, but I like the I. So here's what I like about it. I don't know the no weight breakfast. I guess it's supposed to be like I don't get that as in terms of the thing. It's okay. You're cracking the egg open. I don't know if that's supposed to. Is that like a play on words? It's just going over my head. Give me a no weight breakfast. So I would just maybe come up with something else just for myself that doesn't land on me the way I might want. It makes it seem more jokey because I think it is really cool. I like the idea that it's got different things. You can figure out some different uses for it. It opens. It gives you some interesting things. I can see players having a lot of fun once they figure out like, oh, this is how it works. Because you could do something like we could all hold hands and one person on one end of the party is holding one egg, holding hands the other person, they all raise up. Or yeah, well, we could all sit on this metal plate and hold the eggs and put the metal plate and do some things. But of course, it's very dicey too. If you start to unbalance and one guy holding one egg falls off or one of the eggs falls off, then everyone plummets. So there's a risk to it, but it's got that experimentation coming up with interesting uses built in. It's you got to do it before noon in the morning. I guess that's just kind of part of the breakfast theme. I don't know if I would probably switch up. I don't mind the midnight and having to have it back together, but I don't know if you got to do it in the morning. I don't know if I care so much about that. But I dig it, and I like that you can cast Levitate on it to restore 2 charges. That works for me pretty fine. Dungeon Master Masterclass says, this is a good egg, but the theme is a little weak. Egg, weightlessness, electrical conductivity. Yeah, I mean, the theme is not, yes, I would agree with you. I don't know the connection between an egg and weightlessness necessarily. Ian says, I think wood is about as good as conductive as you are. There is that point too. I probably would look at, I don't know, and I don't really know much about electricity conductivity and doesn't make sense. I could just have it used just simply whatever things are touching just to make it easy. I think it's a low fat breakfast. Yeah, Brian Smith. Yeah, maybe that's it. Low, no. Yeah, it's kind of yeah. Elfbase says it might work better as 2 feathers. That might work well also. Good for your Easter themed one shot. Yep. So yeah, I think the concept, the way the power works is fine. Do we need to do like electricity conductivity, or can we just say things that it touches and you can maybe have an absolute, give it a radius of something? So maybe say everything within 50 feet that's not, I don't know, strapped to something else. It would be interesting because if you're touching the earth, how does that work? I don't know. Whatever. You could come up with some kind of ways to do it. Maybe it's a reference to whites only omelet. I don't know. So yeah, the egg is a bit thin, but I like what it's doing. I can just see. To me, this is a good kind of first draft, right? I like what it's doing. I like the kind of mechanics around it. Maybe just narrow in on, do we need to get the physics of electricity to make this thing? Can we make that a little bit easier? And then why an egg? Does that make sense? Maybe they have some understanding of eggs, whatever. Yeah, it seems to be kind of a play on a low-fat breakfast. But I like it. Good work, Chad Icon. Okay, I think we found a lot of good stuff today. Lizardman Lair. Let's check this one out. I'm guessing it's a question and not somebody providing a lair. Yeah, they're looking for a lair. All right. I'll fill you, but I don't have any. I don't know. This is one of those weird things. Like, why? Maybe it's just me, but I think like looking for a lair. Like, what is the like that to me? Maybe it's just kind of to me. It seems like it's kind of one of the lower hanging fruits of locations because they can easily just be like just a big cavern or just a couple of houses, huts, tents, whatever. Like I don't know. It just seems to me like wow, it's pretty. I don't. I guess for me personally, I don't feel like that's something. Oh gosh, I go need to kind a bunch of layers. Like to me, it's just like in minimum, if I rolled up lizard men on a random encounter table and it's like oh, and I determine for a reason it's their lair. I don't know wherever they are. There's a swamp. There's a cave. There's in the middle of the swamp. They're whatever they are living in kind of maybe how advanced they are. Mud kind of brigands. Maybe they're mud huts. Maybe they're living on houses on stilts with bridges going across. Like, but I feel like I can just come up with that fairly easily, and I don't need to go hunting down specific layers. But maybe this is I play theater of the mind, and if I needed maps and I needed those kinds of resources, maybe I would then be running for those kinds of resources that I'm not looking for. I, I missed some stuff about eggs and raisins. And yes, Terrence, I agree with you. Eggs and raisins does not sound like a good combination. There is a new old school essentials bundle on Bundle of Holding, so run out to the Bundle of Holding if you need some old school essentials stuff. Squirrel Hermit on YouTube. I don't know what that is or who that is, but good luck to them. Yalarum Nithian Tube from a Star, a map. Okay, someone's working on that. All right. Well, we could take a look at this person's hex map. Posted by Joe the Drow. Ashuri, the land of the Stone Queens hex map. Oh, look at that. Driven on actual paper. Hex paper. I like that. I kind of like this stuff. It looks like it's crayon. Just got to zoom out so we can see more. I really like that look for hex maps. Just some nice bold colors. Simple kind of icons. Uh-oh, Brian Smith throwing out for some verisimilitude. If you're playing the verisimilitude. I don't think we can count chat uses of verisimilitude for the verisimilitude drinking game. I think that's just too easy to game. I like it. The only color looks like it's a little overwhelming is I guess is that swamps in the brown? The brown kind of overwhelms the swamp icons. This kind of overwhelms everything. So I might change that to something else. But maybe they just didn't have because I see they got two green colors, one for deciduous and one for conifers as far as forest goes. We've got looks like some kind of deadlands. I'm not sure this yellow over here. I'm not sure what that is, but we've got kind of a lightish green for grasslands. I don't see any towns on there. We have the river. I might have put some blue on the river. But this is cool. Good job. Good job to Joe the Drow. I don't really have any comments to say. I don't need to make it that big. I can't wait to see where you put your towns and stuff, Joe. Okay, so let's see. What else have we got here? Coins are much more fun. Oh, here we go. This might be interesting, and I'll just give it an upvote right away. Nobody's commented on it yet. Oh, we've looked at Peak Roll Press before. Oh, was Peak Roll Press? I think they were the merchant game. When we looked at that kind of play as a merchant. I think that was Peak Roll Press. No, nothing says going back to that map. I think yellow is prairie type grasslands. Could be. I would go with that. Posted at Peak Roll Press. When is a coin not a coin? This is old. Why are you giving me stuff that's old, Picro Press? Well, it's new to us. So I guess we'll read it. I don't appreciate that, Picro Press. I just want that noted for the record. So from Wednesday, it's not super old, but it's from September 2021. When is a coin not a coin? I just bought Luke Gearing's Wolves Upon the Coast campaign, which includes a draft of his forthcoming supplement, Treasure, and Treasure. This is a series of tables for generating treasure hoards, and alongside the expected entries for potions, wands, artifacts, etc., there is a coins table. I've written before about my dissatisfaction with the way money is conceived of in RPGs, so Luke's table brought a smile to my face, as it presents coinage as something much more than just some ubiquitous, anonymous token used for earning experience, resurrecting old buddies, and building mansions. Included in the table are aspirational coins, foldable coins, dogs full of coins, coins that can be worn as armor, and several forms of currency that are not quite coins. The special coins listed in the table are intended to supplement rather than replace modern types of currency, your common or garden pieces of gold, silver, copper, electrum, platinum, whatever, although it's acknowledged that even most modern coins will not be of a standard type. He's got a quote here. Coins taken from pockets with grubby fingers will be of mixed modern types, and usable as tender unless a polity is actively enforcing its own coinage. Coins discovered in hoards will tie to the time of their origin. Cumulative hoards, as gathered by certain types of inhuman monsters, ogres, bankers, etc., will mostly be of local modern types, as dictated by geography, but may, 20% chance, have one of the below special coins. Special coins can be used as normal coinage or sold to historians, scholars, and collectors. So, special coins may be used as a stand-in for modern coins, but most have other uses too, and will be far more valuable if sold to a collector rather than used as a modern coin. See Noism's post about finding suitable collectors who buy rare artifacts. Another interesting aspect of the coins table is that it lists the type of things you are likely to find on the obverse and reverse heads and tails of each coin type, whether these be heads in profile, animals, trees, lighthouses, internal organs, or, in one case, parts of a larger picture which can only be made out when 500 unique coins are arranged into a specific pattern. The pictures which appear on coins are one of the most prominent things about them, and yet I can remember very few examples of these pictures described in RPGs. Here's a nice table, again from Noisms for generating coin descriptions. Those are links. You can check out those links if you want to dive deeper. And now we have a few currency ideas. Monster parts as coinage, coins tainted with magic, rubber coins that squeak when you're hit in combat. No, thank you. Maybe if I was playing Toon. Coins made from radioactive substances which decay and damage the carrier if not spent rapidly. Coins which change their design according to the weather. Propaganda coins. Coinlings. Interlocking coins. Translucent coins. Coins which weigh so much as to be effectively worthless. Coins which weigh so little as to float away if uncontained. Cowrie shells et al. Ectoplasmic currency. So I've done that in the current game I'm running. I've had that where the Caves of Chaos, in fact, the goblins that my players captured had pouches of coins on them, and the coins had a kind of non-modern currency. They haven't really investigated them too much, but I did like throwing that feature out there. I wanted to highlight the fact that wherever these goblins are getting these coins from, that it's kind of some ancient hoard that was found, and not just stuff they've robbed from travelers, because travelers aren't holding on to this stuff. I like a lot of these ideas. I mean, some of them are more gonzo or goofy than I want to get into, just for my taste. Something I really appreciated, I want to say it was in the first episode of The Mandalorian, when he has the currency was like the moth calamari currency, and it was like this kind of squishy, looked like it had made of jelly or something else, which was kind of cool because you think of those guys like I think those are what the squid people, like Admiral Akbar, it's a twap. And so, and they feel aquatic, and their currency had very much an aquatic flavor to it. I think that stuff great. I think being able to have these things, whether it's coins or just other bits of treasure that then can propel new adventures. So great, you've brought this thing back and it looks amazing and it looks priceless or extremely valuable. Maybe you even have some kind of skill or spell that helps you determine its value. Well, great, but now you brought it back to this village, and there's nobody here in the village that can afford this, but maybe that's where you start hitting the rumors, or hey, do you know somebody who would want that? And then of course you can get that rumor of, oh well, there's an eccentric lord that lives out in the sticks in his own fortress, and he loves this stuff. So you got to find that guy, get it to him, and then that could be all adventures, finding out where the guy actually is, hex crawling to just explore and find that guy. Then of course, what kind of weird things is this guy into? Where he has it? What other plots could be revealed? It's just you just get to keep building and building on this stuff. Can it be overkill a little bit? Sure. Can it get to be too much? Maybe. But if you lean into that, you can really have fun, and you can always have it that sure your players can unload this stuff at just locally to them, but then maybe they're not getting the full value. You could say, well, someone's going to take this Fabergé egg off your hands, but they can't give you Fabergé egg value for it. Or you could try to find the rich people who want Fabergé eggs and can afford them, and then get their full value so that the players have a choice. Let's see, we got some comments in here. Let me scroll back. Elfbait says their current campaign has these 7 wizard coins, which Brian Smith says sounds dope, and it does. Terrence says the Pogs of the Ancients, fabulous double-thick jeweled slammers that ring like cathedral bells when they strike. Ah, yes, Pogs. You've dated yourself and me as well. Curse you, Terrence. Dungeon Master Masterclass says, I often tell my players where coins were minted and their condition, and royals in my world mint sort of commemorative coins for important events. Those coins are thought of as good luck charms. Yep, that's cool. One thing that's maybe overlooked a little bit is, when this stuff's sitting underground in hoards, certainly you find that with historical, coins that are unearthed. A lot of those designs tend to fade away into kind of nothing, so it's really hard to find out. So you can also play with that as in terms of you don't want to give everything, make everything a special coin. You can just say that the faces are just worn down, because they would, especially if they're gold, because gold's kind of malleable anyway. So that stuff is going to wear down. It's going to get mushed, scratched up, and it's just going to wear away till it's fairly featureless. Of course, if they're super dead set on getting them identified, then that could be another adventure of, hey, you got to find the sage. This sage has got the means to examine and run the tests and do the stuff to figure out more about it. So take it to them. So, it could be, you can even make a lack of faces or lack of identifiable marks into a source of adventuring. See, Elfbait says of his 7 wizard coins, each commemorates one of the 7 great wizards that survived the last War of the Wizened. They are good luck tokens, but then have powers associated with the wizard they were made for. I like that a lot. Brian Smith says, I think Gungans used gushers as currency in episode 1, if their memory serves right. Could be. I tried to kind of wipe most of episode 1 out of my brain. So I would say, normally I'd say, I'll have to go back and watch it and look for that, but I'm not going to go back and watch anything to do with the Gungans at all. Elfbait said, nothing hacks your party off like going through an ancient dungeon and they found 10,000 coins made of bronze. Wah, wah, wah. And then Brian Smith says, the Fabergé egg market is a fickle mistress. Yeah, indeed it is. And Elfbait says, I know I have massive trade coins. Each is the size of a coaster and worth 50 gold pieces. Wow. Let's see. Brian Smith asked if we saw his link to Google Docs. I did not see a link, Brian Smith. If you want to shoot it to me. Oh, wait, no. Oh, no, that's my own thing. Nope, didn't see your link. So, yeah. You could send it to me on Twitter. I can throw Twitter up somewhere, and you could DM me on Twitter. I think you've DM'd me before. I'll throw Twitter on another window, and then I can pop it over. If you did not. It's coin related, so hurry up and tweet it to me or DM me on Twitter, Brian Smith, and then I can, I'll throw it up. I'll throw it up there. Or the other thing, Brian Smith, is maybe in a channel comment or like a community comment. I don't know. If you can find a way to get it to me in the next minute or so, happy to add it on at the end here. Otherwise, send it to me at your leisure and I'll just cover it at a different time. So that was Peak Roll Press. No one had commented on it, but I did upvote it. Oh, we're over the time. All right, Brian Smith, I'll give you another moment. Other than that, I think I'll just end it here. If Brian Smith can't get to me Can't get to me. Should I check? Okay, he's in Twitter. All right, so I am Hexed Pressman on Twitter. Ryan Smith, if you didn't know, find me there. So we'll wait for a minute to see if I can get at the buzzer indeed. Oh, look at that. I got something. Yes. All right. Let me drag that over. Okay, I might have to, all right, let me close down my other thing. All right, so let's let's look at this. I've got to, I think I gotta stop sharing. End my screen share. I'm gonna share again. Screen. Here we go. All right, so our last thing of the day. Oh, I did that again. I keep zooming in on the wrong window. And Brian Smith, I'm guessing this is Brian Smith, says it's a doc with a bunch of baked ideas, but the top one is a gold coin fungus. All right, let's check that out. Can I move this over? Is that going to take me out? No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Gold caps. A poison mushroom that sprouts multiple hard, gleaming golden caps in clusters. When disturbed, they easily detach from the spore-filled stems underneath, triggering the root node underneath to expel a disorienting vapor. When the spores are inhaled, they cause the victim to have an insatiable desire to consume gold coins. This, of course, often results in the victim swallowing several golden caps along with possibly real gold coins. Once the toxic caps have been ingested, the victim's body is racked with pain and they become unable to eat or drink anything besides gold coins, which they attempt to do if at all possible. A dark leathery pouch forms on the victim's abdomen and grows as they devour gold coins. If 250 gold pieces worth of coins are ingested, the pouch will detach and fall off. Once detached, it looks almost exactly like a simple leather pouch filled with gold coins. However, it is filled with a mix of real gold coins and imitation gold caps. After 24 hours, the pouch will tear open, spilling the pile of coins and caps and sink about 1 foot into the ground, forming the spore-filled root. Boy, that's some interesting stuff going on, Smith. I do like the idea that a fungus or a fungal creature of some sort would take advantage of the fact that in kind of fantasy games that people are just forever, it seems, chasing gold. So it is found this way to multiply their numbers and use this gold fever, dragon sickness, if you will, to spread, to extend the species. Null Terminate says the Numenera concept of trade in interesting bits of scrap in the of standard coinage helps solve the conversion problem for giving out weird coins. Aha. Mauricio says, I thought having the PC eating the party's loot would be hilarious. It definitely would be funny. Though I wonder if they would just end up eating their own stuff first, because it seems like 25 gold pieces worth of coins seems like they would just kind of go through their own share before getting into the party stuff. But still, yeah, and you could have fun with, does it break your teeth? What kind of stuff happens? Choking on the gold coins. Though maybe just being me, I wonder if there's even something more insidious, or instead of eating the gold coins, though as hilarious that is, that the gold caps feed on the gold. So you see this field of gold, you maybe because of the vapors, they really, even though if you were to touch one of the gold caps, you would know right off it's not gold. But part of that vapor thing that laid out when you pull them gives you this illusory sense that it's gold. You put it in your pouch with your gold, and it starts consuming the gold that's there and creating more caps. And then something happens, like you're just like spreading it out. So you take a few of these caps, end up in your loot bag, and then in a few days, maybe it's some kind of exponential growth of red caps consuming the gold and replacing them with more red caps. So if you leave them in too long without discovering it, you get back to town, open up your big loot bag, and it's just filled with gold caps. So that's maybe how I would go. And then as far as like how they would then, maybe they just have to be in a damp, dark place to, the gold cap itself will just become a root if left on like dark ground or somewhere, or maybe a shaded or underground type of thing. and then they would just regenerate. So yeah, so it could be like a fun thing, and of course it can be hilarious if some people don't fall for it, but they don't know what it does yet. So they're like, that stuff's not gold, but you're like, oh, it's gold, and so you're taking it, putting it in your pouch. So then your pouch goes bad, their pouches don't. And of course, what happens if you end up putting it in, like if you guys are carrying all your loot in as a group, and then you contaminate the whole group's thing, could be could get into trouble. Could get into trouble. Terrence says Pikachu. Indeed. Okay, should I read these other two, Brian Smith? Or these? Well, I've got I guess it's up to me. I've got the document, so let me just go in and read it. The fractal cloth. A busily patterned and colorful silk cloth. When laid down, the pattern will shift slightly, indicating it has been activated. After 1 hour, the pattern will shift back, and the cloth will return to being a mundane silk cloth. While active, the cloth has the following property. If lifted, there appears underneath a silk cloth of similar but not identical pattern and slightly smaller. The effect ends if any cloth generated this way is pierced, or the cloth has been active for its 1 hour duration. When the effect ends, all cloths revealed this way suddenly dissolve into colorful mist, and the original cloth is revealed with whatever damage it may have taken. The fractal cloth must be mended magically or by an exceptional tailor to function properly again. So it can make kind of smaller cloths, and then I don't know about whatever damage it may have taken. I'm not sure what that means in this instance, because does making the smaller cloth damage it? I mean, I guess if the smaller cloth is pierced, so if you did stab the smaller cloth, then after that hour, the bigger cloth will show the stabbing. If I got that right? It seems like that would be good. I'm wondering what the... Oh, here we go. Hold on. Brian Smith says, basically, the idea is you lay it down and somebody keeps picking it up and there's one below it. If they slash one apart, they all go poof. Okay. It's certainly a funky little item. I wonder, like, who made... I'd like to know the backstory of who made that and what the purpose was. Was it to cheat people at a at the weekly markets, going on from market to market, and you're kind of doing this thing of like, hey, hooey, hooey, and you're making claws, and then you run away, and the claws eventually dissolve, and you're too far to be chased down. And I'll just read this last one because I am over time. And I can hear that my family is back. The Rust Blade. This weapon was granted by the Time Lord to one of the original Dawn warriors. It strikes cleave away years from the target, turning blades to rust and foes to ancient corpses. It holds a sentience imbued from a fragment of the Time Lord himself. It takes great pleasure in carving off time, returning the potential energy to the time stream. The blade seeks a lawful handler who will excise creatures who persist outside the effect of the time stream, those who have made themselves immortal through dark means or who hold off time without the blessing of the Time Lord. It seems very much like in that Loki series. This is cool. I assume at some point you'll mechanically determine how much time is taken off, or is this basically like an insta-kill weapon, and just when it kills somebody, it just turns them kind of to some kind of mummified or skeleton? Oh, Brian Smith is going back to the cloth could be a distraction for guards, covering a statue or something, concealing a wizard's escape hatch. That's true. I definitely can see a lot of creative uses for that fractal cloth if someone with the right mindset comes around. Size probably helps too. If it was a big cloth to begin with and the smaller size is still fairly large, ain't a lot. That would give you a lot more. If it's like a I don't know, like a hand towel size fractal cloth and the other size is like a napkin size or something, then maybe not quite as useful, but still you could definitely find some things to do with it. Brian Smith says, kind of wanted to steal the Sphinx aging effect or rust monster effect on weapons of battle. Cool. I mean, I like the fact that it also works on people. There's always that weird thing. I always think with timing effects that they should be relative so that you could still nail there's like a cat hair floating in the air in front of my face. You always run that problem with elves and dwarves. You just say, it's going to take D10 years off you. And elves like, what do I care about that? Even dwarves like, I don't care. And of course, humans are freaking out. Whereas if it's some kind of percentage of your life that drains away, then that puts the fear into everybody. All right, folks. So that was really cool stuff from Brian Smith. Thanks for sharing. Let me know if we can, maybe next week we can hit those other ones if you like. other than that, have a great rest of your Good Friday or your Friday that is good. Thanks again for the happy birthday well wishes from before. Have a great rest of your day, night, weekend, whenever you're watching or listening to this. If you give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. If you found yourself in here and you're not subscribed to the channel and this stuff, you enjoyed the chat, maybe subscribe to the channel. Helps me out. Doesn't really hurt you at all. Game on, everybody. Talk to you later.